Please turn to page 230 for Stage 5 Opinion Writing about a Topic. In the previous video, we were on Stage 5, but we wrote our opinion about a text. So before we begin this lesson, let's just discuss what's the difference between a topic and a text. A text is very specific from which you're giving your opinion because you are sticking with a piece of writing that you have read to give your opinion about. I may be reading a story. My opinion is about that story, and I'm going into that story to find my reasons to back up my opinion. Everything when you talk about a text is involved with that specific text when you're giving an opinion. On the other hand, when you have a topic, you're giving your opinion about anything in the world. That means you may give an opinion about a person, a place, an idea, a thing, a rule. A topic is something in which you are going to give your opinion about and then back it up with reasons that can come from many different sources. You're not looking at one specific piece of text. Let me give you an example of what we're going to do today. Our opinion here in this finished organizer on this page was about pilgrims. So we formed an opinion from our social studies unit about pilgrims. That means the children had many different sources of information from which they were able to learn about the pilgrims. I could have given them lecture notes, giving them background about pilgrims. I could have shown them a video or some sort of a movie that had pilgrims in it. We could have read many different stories or information about pilgrims. We could have gone on the internet from which I could have pulled into our unit of study about pilgrims. We have all these different sources of information that we were getting in order to learn about pilgrims. Hence, if you look at the top box, which is our introduction to our paragraph for Stage 5 opinion, when we're talking about a topic, we no longer have author and the title of the text because we're not talking about a specific text. Instead, we are talking about a topic. And in this case, we are learning about the pilgrims and we're going to give an opinion about the pilgrims. Please turn to page 225. Before I go through any more of the organizer, I want to go back and visit the chant. An opinion is what I think or how I feel about a text I've read or a topic in my world. And when I have an opinion, what do I need to do? I tell my opinion. That means this is me, the writer, and I am telling my audience my opinion. So what am I going to tell them? I'm going to tell you what I think or feel. And in this case, about a topic. So I'm going to tell you what I think or feel about my topic, about pilgrims. Then I need to give reasons to back it up. To back what up? My opinion. So let's go through the whole thing. When I'm writing my opinion about my topic, and in this case, pilgrims, what do I need to do? I need to give my opinion. I need to tell my audience what I think or how I feel about my topic. Then I give reasons that back it up. That back what up? My opinion, what I thought or how I felt about the pilgrims. So back on page 230, we have our brainstorm. And this is a completed brainstorm, but we're going to use this to walk through what all the parts are for writing an opinion at Stage 5 about a topic. We know this is going to be one paragraph with an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, and that our introduction is going to be a topic sentence. This top box is our topic sentence. And what is our topic sentence when we're writing an opinion? It's our opinion, what we think or how we feel about our topic. So this topic sentence is our opinion. After we give our opinion in our introduction, our topic sentence, where are we going next? We're going to go to the body. And what do we have in the body? Details that tell about that topic sentence. And what is it that we need for details when we're writing an opinion? We need reasons to back up our opinion. So our 1, 2, 3 details boxes are going to be our reasons that back up our opinion. Finally, at the bottom is our conclusion. And our conclusion is repeating that big idea, but use different words. We know all the parts of our organizer. This is a ready-made organizer that your students can fill in. I highly suggest that you begin the year where you duplicate and give them this organizer. But once the students start learning all the elements and how this organizer works and how to fill it in, I highly suggest that you have them make their own organizer. Your goal is for students to make their own organizers from blank paper. They are not always going to have you there to Xerox something off to fill in. You need to give them that skill to make their own. Eventually, you will give them a blank piece of legal size paper, 8.5 by 14 inches. When you give them the paper, make sure that you fold it ahead of time so that you have 5 boxes. When they get this piece of paper with the folds, they need to immediately draw lines on each one of the folds so they have their 5 boxes. When they have these 5 boxes, the top box will be for their topic sentence, their opinion, 1, 2, 3 reasons, and on the bottom is our conclusion. On page 231, you will see the finished piece of writing that this student produced from their opinion organizer about pilgrims. What I want you to notice is that this student has their capitals, their commas, their periods. This student's sentences are in the right order. They make sense. Why is that? Because we do so much of the work on the organizer and we orally rehearse our organizer over and over and over again. When the students write, they continue talking, and when they write it down, they have planned and worked so much from their organizer, the writing is that last step. So the organizer is probably the most critical tool of our writing process. It's not until the students have all their information down and they say all their information, the way they're going to write, they have all their capitals and periods on their organizer, that they're ready to put it down on paper. When they write it down on paper, what are they doing? They're going to say it as they write, and when they finish writing, they can go back, count. So let's go back over to our organizer and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 periods. They can go over to their paper and count. How many periods do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then they can go over to their organizer and count how many capitals. Then they can count on their paper. Do I have the right number of capitals? Why am I doing that? Because I want to give students a way that they can check to see if they have complete sentences, if they have all their capitals and periods in place. And by putting it on the organizer, and then when they write, they go back and count to make sure that they have all those elements in place, is a way that your students can edit and revise their papers on their own, instead of you having to pull their papers and fix that for them. We have our finished organizer and our finished piece of writing. What I would like for you to do right now is grab a blank piece of paper, and I am going to walk you through the steps of how I got here. What was my format that I went through in order for my students to be able to write their own opinions about a topic? Let's walk through that process. I have a brainstorm about pilgrims. Up on the top, we're going to write a number 1. This is the process that I go through when we're writing information about a topic. Now remember, a topic could be anything in the world. I mean, kids could write an opinion about their favorite food. They could write about a movie, whether they thought it was a good movie or a bad movie. But what we want to do many times is have them write opinions about topics that connect to what we are learning about in school. That's why I want to show you writing a topic connected to social studies and how I get students to this point. We're going to write an opinion about a unit of study, about a topic that we've been learning in social studies, pilgrims. When we are well into that unit of study or near the end of it, that's when we can start writing about it. So the first thing I need to do when we are going to write is I want the children to give me the information they know. I should not be giving them this information. They should be brainstorming the information they know. So that's the first thing we do when we have our opinion writing is we're going to have the children brainstorm, and in this case, everything they know about pilgrims. How do I do that? I do the I, buddy, table review. And the reason for this is when I ask children to tell me everything they know about pilgrims, many children will say, pilgrims, oh yeah, we studied about pilgrims, and they can't remember. That's because we need to take everything that's in their long-term memory and put it into their working memory. We need to pull that information that they've been learning to the front of their brain for our brainstorm. And how do we do that? I tell them, boys and girls, take out your packet that we have of all the information we learned about pilgrims. Look at all the charts that we have on the wall about pilgrims. I'm going to have you review your information. This is called I review, buddy review, table review. I'm going to give you 30 seconds and no talking. I want you to look at all your information, all of our wall charts, everything that we've learned, and I want you to try to remember everything you learned about pilgrims. Go! And then the room's quiet and everyone's just looking at their information. Then I say, stop. Turn to your buddy. Tell your buddy everything you know about pilgrims. Then they turn to their buddy and they all start talking. Stop. Stand up. Lean in to the people at your table. Tell them everything. This is table talk. Tell them everything you know about pilgrims, and they start talking. Sometimes you may not have much information coming out from the students. If that's the case, then stop the lessons and you need to go back and review what you need to teach the students, and in this case about pilgrims. Why? Because you can't write an opinion if you don't even know your information. So this brainstorming is also a great feedback activity for you as a teacher to know, do my students know the information I've been teaching in this unit? If not, I need to go back and reteach. If they are saying a lot of information, you're walking around, you hear that they have control of it, then you're going to say, stop, we've done our review. Next, we're going to brainstorm all the information. Down below on my page, you see a chart that's almost completed from this particular brainstorm. How this started was first, I just had a picture of pilgrims up on a big piece of butcher paper, or I could put this on my document viewer on a small sheet of paper. And I write pilgrims, and I drew a quick little picture in the middle of the sheet. Everything else that you see here was not on this brainstorm. It came from the students. I'm going to show you this finished piece. I'll show you a little bit of how that brainstorm lesson went. But for a detailed explanation of how I do this brainstorm, please go back to the informative explanatory videos and look for the spider brainstorm. If you watch that video, you'll see the whole process I went through in order to brainstorm about a topic. And in that case, it was about spiders when we were doing a science unit about spiders. Let's come back to our brainstorm that we have on pilgrims. I had the picture in the middle, and I have all the students reviewing their information. We're ready to brainstorm, and I either have individual students where I choose a group of sticks, I pull a stick out with a student's name on, they tell me information they know about pilgrims, or I just ask a table group, and many of the kids start talking at the same time, and I start recording it up on the board. When I record the information, I start putting some of it together in different categories. No boxes are up at the top. Those are our big idea boxes. Children typically just give you details. So I start putting details. I start categorizing them, just the first few that kids give me. Then when they give me more details, I ask them, where should I put that detail? So let me give you an example. Here, no idea box was at the top. The only information that we had here was the first winter, 40 pilgrims died. Pilgrims died of diseases, cold, starvation. Pilgrims had to build their own houses with their hands. Over here we had the Native Americans help them plant corn in rocky areas, help them find edible food like berries and nuts. I chose a student. They gave me some new information. And they said, we learned about how the Native Americans taught them how to hunt for deer and bear and also how to fish. Oh, okay. Where would I put that information? Am I going to put it up here where they had to build plank houses by hand, how they caught many diseases, where they died, almost 40 of them their first winter, or down here they learned how to plant corn in rocky soil from the Native Americans, how the Native Americans helped them find edible food? Ah, it goes there. The Native Americans taught them how to hunt. So I'll put a dot here and I'll write hunt, and maybe I'll draw a deer, a bear, and then we also how they learned how to fish. Next, another student is telling me when they grew crops, they had to cut down trees and they had to lift big, heavy rocks off of the fields before they could even start to plant their crops. Wow, where would that go? Over here where they were building their houses by hand, they had diseases, starvation, and the students decided it went here because these were all tough things that they had to do. So we went, they had to clear, I'll just put some crops here. Before they grew their crops, what did they have to do? They had to move big rocks and cut down tall trees. Notice I have 4 different categories going here, because the information the students gave me were 4 different basic areas. So they started telling me, oh, put that information up there in that corner or down in the bottom corner or put it over in this group. So as they gave me different details, we grouped them together where they belong. After a while I went, oh, let's box the big idea. Let's look at these details and let's box them. So we drew a box, 2 boxes, and the first box is going to be our subject and the second box is our big idea. Who or what is this information about? Where they disagreed with the Church of England, the freedom of religion. They didn't want to commit treason. They wanted freedom from a religion. They were poor. They wanted new economic opportunities. Who or what is this about? The Pilgrims. What about all this information? What is this information about? How is this the same? And this is about reasons why they left England. So we have Pilgrims had many reasons to leave England. There was our big idea, and here's the reasons below. We did the same down here where we had all our information. Pilgrims voyaged across the sea to get to the Americas. We went up to the top here where we looked at how many of them died and suffered from diseases, had to build their houses by hand, had to clear fields before even building their crops. Who is this about? Pilgrims. And what is it? All the different challenges they had in America. Then on the bottom, who or what was this information about? Native Americans and all the different ways they helped the Pilgrims survive. So look what we've done. We brainstormed all our information. Let's go back up to number 1, brainstorm. And here's the good news. This brainstorm you can use for both types of writing, informative explanatory and opinion writing. When we were finishing our social studies unit on Pilgrims, we went back, reviewed all of our information, and brainstormed it up on our big chart. From this brainstorm, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 informative explanatory paragraphs we could write about the Pilgrims. So a brainstorm is for informative explanatory writing, but also we can go back to this organizer and we can use it to form an opinion. So you're in your unit of study, you may have used this brainstorm to write out a whole book on Pilgrims with different chapters, and each one of these was information about the Pilgrims that the students had learned and their informative explanatory paragraphs. Number 2, writing about opinions. How do I get to that opinion from this brainstorm? We know that an opinion is what you think or how you feel about this topic of Pilgrims. When I say what I think or feel, that means that I'm going to give you my belief, what I think or feel, what I believe, my value, or I'm going to give you advice. When I say to the children, you're going to tell your audience what you believe when you're looking at this information, what you think or feel, or you're going to give them advice. When you believe, that many times is when you are telling what you think or feel by giving some sort of an adjective or describing words to describe what you think or feel, to describe your belief. Let me explain. You may say in a belief that something is easy or difficult. Something is good. Something is bad. Something is safe. Something is dangerous. These are examples, and there are many other descriptive words that you could use to tell your opinion. An opinion requires a descriptive word. Good, bad, the best, the worst, sad, happy, fun, difficult, easy. These are words that you can use to give your opinion about a topic. You could also give a belief by just describing a trait, like someone is hardworking, kind, greedy, evil. So you could also do that as your belief. Advice is when you're saying what you should or should not do or think. So I may be telling my audience that they should follow a certain safety rule, or that they should think a certain way about the cafeteria food. That is what our belief and advice is. So we have our opinion, and what is our opinion? It's what we think or feel, which means what we believe or what advice we're going to give about a topic. We've given our understanding of what an opinion is. Let's form an opinion using our brainstorm. So again, we brainstormed. I tell them what an opinion is. We have some of our opinion words here. Let's look at our brainstorm. Let's have an opinion about the Native Americans. Let's look at everything that the Native Americans did here. They showed them how to plant corn in rocky areas, how to find edible food, how to hunt for deer and bear. I could tell you what I think or feel about the Native Americans. I believe, and maybe I'm going to give a character trait to them, I believe they were caring and kind people. Or I could say the Native Americans were very helpful to the Pilgrims. Let's go up to this topic that we had up here. The Pilgrims faced many challenges when they were in America. Let's see, they faced a harsh winter, the first winter. They faced many times they died of starvation, diseases, the cold. They had to build plank houses with their bare hands. They had to clear fields, clear big boulders and rocks and tall trees from fields before they could even grow their crops. I could give advice or tell what I believe. I think I'm going to go to what I believe. What do I believe about all this information? I think I'm going to go to the word difficult. I think the Pilgrims had difficult lives. Notice it's much easier to get to an opinion when you're listing out some of your opinion words and you're reviewing all of the information. So these opinion words, these descriptor words, easy, good, best, worst, bad, pretty, ugly, fun, boring. These are words that tell what you think or feel about something. They give your belief. We had a list of descriptor words which you could keep adding to. We used the word difficult. The Pilgrims had difficult lives. That's my opinion because I put the word difficult up there. I'm now using a descriptive word to describe their lives, meaning that my opinion is being given about this information, about their lives. Let's jump to our organizer. On the top box, we now are going to have, in my opinion, who are we talking about? The Pilgrims. What's our opinion? Had very difficult lives for many reasons. We have our topic sentence. So what did we do in our topic sentence? We had to give our opinion. What did we think or feel about the Pilgrims? I believe the Pilgrims had difficult lives. So the students are going to fill in their organizer. So we've all filled in this topic sentence. At the beginning of your school year, you will do this activity together with your students. And in this case, we're all filling in this organizer together so that they learn the steps how to fill in the organizer for their opinion. You may have some students in your class, though, that after you do this organizer, they could go back, look at the other information on the brainstorm, and come up with another opinion and fill in their own organizer. Have students who understand how to fill it in buddy up, and as buddies they can fill in their own organizers and write their own opinions, while you still keep the group of students who need to still learn how to fill in the organizer to make another opinion. So, how does this look in your classroom? You may be working with your whole class filling in this organizer at the beginning of the year, or just for 1 or 2 lessons, and then you may have students working in pairs and some students working with you. Your goal is for your entire class to be able to independently form their opinion, fill in their organizer, and write it out. Those are the steps of how we differentiate instruction so that you can reach your goal for every student in your room to independently write their own opinion. So at the beginning of the year, when you see opinions, the finished product all written out, the papers will look similar. As you continue on in the school year, you will see all the students' opinions will be different because they will be independently planning and writing their own. You will also see that they will no longer be filling in an organizer, but making their own organizers from which they will fill in their opinion plan. We now have our topic sentence. In my opinion, the Pilgrims had very difficult lives for many reasons. We filled that in. Next, we're going to go to our 3 reasons. We had our topic sentence. We told our opinion. Next, we're going to the body where we have reasons to back up that opinion. Where did we get these reasons? Jump back to our brainstorm. Right here on our brainstorm was all the information we looked at in order to form our opinion. So we're going to use this same information to use as reasons to back up our opinion. We're going to put down how they died of diseases and starvation, how they had to build their houses, plank houses by hand, how they had to clear their fields. So we review those ideas, we go back to the boxes, and the first thing we do is we draw or write a keyword for all 3 of these reasons. We're not forming sentences. So they drew plank houses up here. Then they drew the fields with the big rocks in them. Then they drew like rest in peace. People died of diseases and starvation. So we wrote some keywords and we drew some pictures. Next, we went back, we read our organizer. In my opinion, the Pilgrims had very difficult lives for many reasons. Form our sentence for our first reason. How do we do that? Who or what is this reason about? The Pilgrims. Woo, woo, woo! Redundant police. I can't keep saying pilgrims. I need a synonym. I need a pronoun or a proper noun. I already have a proper noun, so let's use a pronoun. They. Ready, everyone? Who or what are we talking about? They, meaning the Pilgrims. They. Look at my information here, my reason. What's my reason here of why they had difficult lives? They had to build their plank houses by hand. So that was my predicate. So I had my subject, they. What was my reason to show they had a difficult life? They had to build their plank houses by hand. I have my sentence. They had to build their plank houses by hand. I go over to the beginning here where I have my line and I have words under here. I have a list of transition words students can choose from. They're not limited to these, but it's just a list here if they want to use these as their transitions. We have to start, to begin, first. So we had, they had to build their plank houses by hand. I could say to begin, to start, or I could have first. I think I'm going to say to start because I'm going to say to start why they had difficult lives. I'll write to start up there. They choose one of these 3 transitions. The student chose to start. Let's say the whole sentence now. To start, they had to build their plank houses by hand. Let's go to the next detail. Who or what is this about? The Pilgrims. Well, I said Pilgrims up here. I said they here. What's another way? Let's use a synonym. What's another way that I could say Pilgrims? Settlers. How about we say, for our subject, who or what is this about? The settlers. What is it that they did here that made their life difficult? Had to clear big rocks and tall trees from their fields before they could grow their crops. There's my sentence. Do I want to have a transition? I can choose one from my box below, or They can use their own transition. This student chose also. Also, these settlers had to clear big rocks and cut down tall trees before they could grow their crops. Let's go to the last one. Who or what are we talking about? We could say many pilgrims, because we're not talking about all the pilgrims, but there were many. Many pilgrims. Or we could just say many. Many died of starvation, cold, and/or diseases. This student went over, decided to have a transition, finally. We have our topic sentence. We have all of our details with our transitions. We've planned out our sentences. Finally, we have our conclusion. For our conclusion, we're going to choose one of our transitions, which this one was on the whole. I think, and then who or what are we talking about? Pilgrims. I didn't really use pilgrims in the middle, so I'm going to use it down here again. I think pilgrims had very difficult lives. What's another way to say that? Had tough lives. Let's go back and read our whole opinion. In my opinion, the pilgrims had difficult lives for many reasons. To start, they had to build their plank houses by hand. Also, these settlers cleared big rocks and cut down tall trees before they could grow their crops. Finally, many of them died of starvation, the cold, or diseases. So they didn't just die of all three. We're going to say or. One of those three typically. So notice how we went back and we chose the correct word to connect that list. Because we're not saying all these three together, or. Let's say our conclusion. On the whole, I think the pilgrims had tough lives. Let's add some fancy words. Go to our first topic sentence. I don't see anything there that I need to add any fancy words to. Let's go to the first detail. Maybe we could add a fancy word here. And we said that they built their houses and we added plank houses. What kind of houses? Plank houses. Let's go to the next detail. We think it's important to describe the rocks, the big rocks, the tall trees. Let's go to the next line. No, we don't need to describe anything here. So we chose a couple of details to add describing words, wrote them down, and included them into our sentences. After planning our describing words, which notice we said all of our sentences first, we were able to say it, then we went back to add the fancy words. It makes much more sense to add fancy words after you say all your sentences. We have all our sentences, we've orally rehearsed it, sounds really good. Last step, punctuation time. Your students need to take out their red pen or a crayon, marker. We will mark our capitals, commas, periods, any of our punctuation we need as we go through and read our paper. Ready? In my opinion, capital. We always capitalize the beginning of a sentence. The pilgrims, capitalize pilgrim, rock. Why are we capitalizing pilgrim? Because it's a proper noun. It's a name. The pilgrims had very difficult lives for many reasons. Period. To start, capitalize, comma. Why are we putting a comma there? Because it's a transition. The pilgrims built their plank houses by hand. Period. Also, capital. We always capitalize the beginning of a sentence. Comma. Why? It's a transition. Also, these settlers cleared big rocks and tall trees before they could grow their crops. Period. Finally, capital. Always capitalize the beginning of a sentence. Comma. Why? Transition. Many of them died of starvation, comma, colds, or diseases. Why did we put commas there? It was a list. Period. On the whole, beginning of a sentence, comma, transition. I think pilgrims, capital, proper noun, had tough lives. Period. So we go through and we are marking all of our punctuation, our capitalization. Next, I tell the students, turn to your buddy at your table and read your paper. Are they memorizing and saying it exactly the same way? No. They're reading it, and every time they read it, they want to make their sentences better and better and better. So they're revising, and also you want them to read it so that it makes sense and sounds right. As they're reading their organizers to their buddy, I walk around the room and listen. If they have control over the language and they're saying it the way it should be written, then I will tell them, go ahead and start writing. Students who have difficulty with language, who need more help with the oral rehearsal, they will come with me and we will orally rehearse the paragraph. Why? Because if you can't even say it, you're not going to be able to write it. So those students who have all their ideas down, they need me to help them orally rehearse and have that language development practice before they even take it to writing. After a few rehearsals with children that need that help, they go back to their seat and they start talking and writing. Everyone should be rehearsing their paper and writing it, rehearsing their paper and writing it. And as they write, they should continue talking so that they can hear what their sentence sounds like as they write it. They'll keep their fluency, they'll stay on topic, and they'll make sense. Next thing that you need to do once everyone starts writing is walk the room. You should be listening to students and watch as they write so that you can give them immediate feedback. If they're saying something that doesn't make sense, you may need to stop them and help them with their oral rehearsal. If they're writing and missing words, have them go back to their organizer, read that particular sentence, and then read what they wrote and see if it matches so they can fix it. You want to give students feedback while they're writing. This activity that we just did was for a topic. I walked through the whole process in which you went from brainstorming after a unit of study so that you could have a brainstorm for informative explanatory as well as opinion writing. We use the brainstorm to help us form opinions, to say what we believe or to give advice about different topics we learned in that unit of study. Once we came up with an opinion, we immediately went to our organizer, wrote it down. Then we went back to the brainstorm to find our 3 reasons to fill in our organizer. And finally, we went to the bottom and repeated the opinion using different words. These were our steps that we used and our process we used in order to write opinions so that they can connect to your content in your classroom. When you present stage 5, you have your chant, as well as many tools and your organizers that you will utilize for this stage of writing. This is a file folder that I created storing my tools, my chants, my organizers for this stage 5 opinion writing. On page 225 is the chant. Put that on the cover of your file folder. This way, when you are telling your kids the chant, how they need an opinion and reasons to back it up, you can put this under your document viewer and it could project up in the room as they're learning this chant. So you have your chant on the outside. Then I suggest that you go to pages 233 through 237, duplicate those pages back to back and staple them together. And you will have all of my tools in a little booklet. This booklet is filled with several tools that you can use for your opinion writing. This was our stage 5, writing an opinion about a topic, where we filled in our organizer and had a finished piece of writing at the paragraph level. Please use this activity to teach your students how to form an opinion and how to write an opinion paragraph at stage 5 about a topic.